Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to the special 160th episode of Missing Frames. I am your host, Sean Eastridge, and we are celebrating 10 years of Missing Frames right here, right now. I started November 2016, and now we're in the summer 2026. It's glorious. It's wonderful. And because we're hitting another big milestone episode, we are bringing back Brad Gullickson. Brad, welcome back to the show. Hello. And I went back, I dug through the archives. You realize we started almost 10 years ago. It was January 2018. Our very first episode was episode 30, Dirty Harry, which is what you introduced me to.
Don't start saying that was almost 10 years ago. That can't be.
It's
2018 was like 2 years ago?
That's what I would love to believe myself. And it's scary. It hurts. Everything COVID we got sucked into a black hole. I remember we went to Sundance January 2020, and then every time just became an illusion after that.
Yeah, who was I in 2018?
I don't know. Somebody who wanted to introduce me to Dirty Harry.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to talk about the movie that we're talking about today just yet, but I do think it's fitting that our journey together on Missing Frames began with Dirty Harry, and now we're continuing it with another movie that celebrates masculine energy.
I love it so much. We've had a wide variety of films because it started accidentally. Like your first episode was episode 30. And then I think it just so happened that I had you back on for episode 40 and I introduced you to My Neighbor Totoro. And I think at that point we sort of realized, like, wait a second, are we just going to do this for the rest of time? For the rest of Missing Frames' existence, we need to keep this trend going. So it's been 30, 40, 50, 60. We've kept it going since your first appearance. We've done My Neighbor Totoro, The Graduate, Buckaroo Banzai. We did Big Trouble in Little China. So many incredible films.
Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight.
Hell yes. And
the
all
Seventh
of these.
Seal, Cinema Paradiso.
Yes. Yeah.
Escape from New York, Escape from LA. Can you tell which one's Brad picked?
We always trade off. It's always like, this is a movie Brad really loved. This is a movie Sean really loved. It is so much harder for me to find movies that you haven't seen. For you, you've like almost everyone. It's like, have you seen that? Nope. All right, we're doing that. And
I've consumed almost all of cinema.
It's incredible, and it's an inspiring thing. And you've genuinely introduced me. It's so funny. I haven't gone back and listened to some of the episodes, but there are episodes where I think maybe I was lukewarm on the film, and then like throughout the course of the episode, I'm realizing as we're talking that I'm like, no, this is going to be something.
Give me some examples. Like what were you lukewarm on, but now you're like, man, that's genius.
I think Big Trouble in Little China was one that I was, and I don't even think I was lukewarm. Like I think at the time I might have given it.
You liked it.
I really enjoyed it, and I think I gave it 3.5 or something. And now that's like maybe a 5-star movie.
Yeah, but then we watched In the Mouth of Madness with John Mills, and it turned you into a Carpenter head.
Exactly, but I think you and John like were the two Carpenter guys in my life, and we talked about it in that episode. I think you guys kind of like I was sort of like dipping my toe in the Carpenter waters, and like, okay, I think maybe because we'd watched Escape from New York and Escape from LA. And then I think In the Mouth of Madness was like the floodgates opened. And so I went back and watched all of those movies again.
And now you're like, The Ward with Amber Heard is so good, guys.
The best, guys. So underrated. But bringing it back to this episode, the last one we did, episode 150, which was about a year ago, we did Paprika, which is one of mine. And now we're doing one of yours. And Brad, what is this film that we're watching today for episode 160?
We are watching John Boorman's Point Blank, starring Lee Marvin and based on Richard Stark's The Hunter.
I know nothing about this movie. I don't think I've seen a John Boorman film.
Give me John Boorman movie? Oh, come on. You've seen Deliverance.
John Boorman.
You've seen Deliverance, right?
No.
Oh man, have you seen Excalibur?
Nope.
Oh man, have you seen Exorcist 2: The Heretic?
I have absolutely not seen that.
Well, you probably haven't seen oh my gosh, what's the other Lee Marvin Toshiro Mifune movie? Hell in the Pacific.
What if I was like, oh no, I've seen that? No, I haven't seen that one.
Hell in the Pacific is Enemy Mine. Have you seen Enemy Mine with Dennis Quaid and Lou Gossett Jr.?
I haven't seen any of these.
Okay, well, that's not directed by John Boorman, but that is a science fiction remake of Hell in the Pacific. Hell in the Pacific is about an American fighter pilot and a Japanese fighter pilot crash landing during World War II on an island and having to live together.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
It's great. Toshiro Mifune, Lee Marvin. Oh my God. It's the movie they made right after Point Blank. Point Blank is John Boorman's big intro into Hollywood. Oh, Zardoz. You've got to have seen Zardoz. Sean Connery.
But the legend looms large. That's
man.
One we should put on our list. All of these are.
I'm hoping that Point Blank opens the John Boorman floodgates for you.
I'm okay with that. I'm fully prepared for that to happen. But like, I literally, like, I can't even wax poetic about this movie because I don't know anything.
What about Richard Stark novels? Richard Stark being the pseudonym for Donald Westlake.
No, I don't know anything.
Okay, so basically, like when Donald Westlake, the mystery writer, when he was feeling mean, when he was in a dark mood, he would adopt the pen name of Richard Stark and he would write a Parker novel. And The Hunter was the first Parker novel, which Point Blank is based on.
Okay.
Although at the time, Westlake wouldn't allow the adaptations to use the name Parker, so they had to change the name to Walker in this one. And other Parker novels have been adapted. Robert Duvall was in a movie called The Outfit, which is also pretty darn good.
Okay.
Mel Gibson did The Hunter again, and he was Walker in that as well. And that was called Payback.
Okay.
The theatrical cut
Payback.
of Payback is not great, but the director's cut of Payback is pretty fantastic if you could get past the Mel Gibson of it all. Jason Statham was the first actor to officially play Parker in the movie Parker with Jennifer Lopez, and that movie is trash. Don't watch it.
Okay.
But I love the Parker stories. Parker, well, shit, I'm not going to tell you who Parker is because I do want you to go in pretty fresh with this movie.
Oh yeah, I'm not kidding when I say like I'm totally I'm a point blank slate. Like I don't know anything about this film. I looked at the poster and that was it. So I'm like, okay, I know this is, like you said, it's some kind of maybe not a rogue cop, but like, again, thinking Dirty Harry, connecting the dots to our first episode that we did. Maybe something along those lines. He's that kind of character.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay.
The film comes out in 1967, the late 60s. This is one of my favorite eras in cinema. This is a year before Planet of the Apes, which we just talked about with the Franchise Boys. This is a year before 2001: A Space Odyssey. Mm-hmm. I think if you're a real film nerd, especially a real film nerd filmmaker, this film was incredibly influential. Steven Soderbergh does an amazing commentary track on this movie with John Boorman. If you have the Criterion edition that just came out, but it was also on the original DVD Blu-ray of Point Blank. It's fantastic. I highly recommend listening to that. And then if you watch Steven Soderbergh's movie, The Limey, it is not a remake of Point Blank, but stylistically, it is a remake of Point Blank.
Okay.
And The Limey is fantastic too.
Soderbergh is another blind spot in my film
but you've
knowledge.
seen like Ocean's 11 and Out of Sight.
I've seen Ocean's 11. I've seen those three films, and I don't think I've seen any other Soderbergh.
You haven't seen Out of Sight?
No.
What about Traffic?
I own Traffic, and I've owned it for years. Sex, Lies, and Videotape I've owned for years. Haven't watched them.
What about Aaron Brockovich?
No.
Well, okay.
So this is,
Weird.
It sounds like there's a connection here that I'm starting to see where it's Boorman and
have
Soderbergh.
Like the next 10 years of Missing Frames planned out between John Boorman and Steven Soderbergh.
I am okay with that because these are both filmmakers that, I mean, Soderbergh I know more about than Boorman, but I'm like very interested in finding out.
John Boorman, a British filmmaker, he really cuts his teeth making documentary television and documentary films. His first movie is kind of a film that's trying to do A Hard Day's Night, but with the Dave Clark Five.
Great.
What the heck is that movie called? Let me pull it up real quick. It's not great. It's called Catch Us If You Can.
Okay.
Came out in 1965. But that movie did catch the attention of certain people, and he was kind of like pinpointed as being like, oh, this guy's going to be like the next big thing.
Uh-huh.
And when Lee Marvin, saw his work and then got a hold of the script for Point Blank, he was like, okay, I want to work with this guy. And what's interesting about Point Blank is that Lee Marvin himself helped make Point Blank a reality.
Okay.
So this is like the introduction of a really powerful filmmaker in John Boorman. And it's Lee Marvin at a really interesting point in his film career and, trying to gain more autonomy in the filmmaking process.
Okay.
Are you
So
a
was
Lee
he-
Marvin guy?
I'm not, like, again, very much a blind spot. Is it kind of like oh my God, why am I blanking? Kirk Douglas. Is it kind of like what Kirk Douglas was doing around the 50s?
If Kirk Douglas was the real deal.
Okay.
Lee Marvin is a World War II vet. He, got shot in the ass, has a Purple Heart. He starred in the movie The Big Red One, directed by Samuel Fuller, which is a great World War II movie, but with no budget. Like, if you look at the storming of Normandy during The Big Red One and compare it to like Saving Private Ryan, it's laughable. But the ideas in The Big Red One are incredible. And because Lee Marvin was a genuine World War II vet and Samuel Fuller was a World War II vet, he did storm the beach in Normandy. And here are two vets making a World War II movie.
That's nuts.
And telling it in a slightly cynical way. Like, it comes out in 1980. We've gone through Vietnam. This is not the movie about like the greatest generation. This is like, look at the real awfulness of war, even in quote unquote the good war.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, oh man, we have mapped out missing frames for the 21st century.
Yeah, all of this I'm very excited about, and I would I can't even tell you what I think the movie's about, honestly. Like, that is my guess at what the story is about. Normally before we watch, the person who hasn't seen the movie tries to guess what it's about, what the plot is. I feel like this is unfair for me to skip it. I've put people through so much.
I mean, you started to do it a little bit already.
Yeah, I mean, that's my guess, is it's like, okay, this kind of like down on his luck cop who is tired of fighting within the system starts to go outside of the system a little bit, and he's a little grungy. He's maybe he's seasoned, but he's bitter. He used to be, maybe he used to be an optimist. He's
the title Point Blank invoke with you?
It means that this guy is he's a straight shooter. He does not miss. He knows how to shoot a gun.
Yeah, and like, there's aggression to it, right?
Yes,
like,
yeah.
And he's not going to like shoot you
It's
from
an aggressive.
a distance.
Yes, it's an aggressive title. Like the guy does not take any crap.
And
like,
I think it's interesting that the title is Point Blank and not The Hunter, which is what the novel was called.
Right. And I mean, that makes sense. I could see a Hollywood exec saying like, the title, we got to change the title. And it's like, oh, Point Blank, what it evokes, like what we're talking about, like it evokes that feeling of like action and their guns, and it's it's more gun shootouts and crazy action and stuff. Like, I could see them saying that's a more attractive title. The Hunter, what is it? Does he go to the forest and shoot deer? What does that mean? So I get that. And then as far as Boorman's career, this kind of launched him. You're saying, like, so he'd kind of done documentary films. Is this his first narrative feature?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. So that's going to be interesting too, because I love seeing, especially a filmmaker who kind of cut their teeth doing like Danny Boyle with music video, or David Fincher with music videos, although his first film is a little bit of a disappointment, Alien 3. But it's always
that's interesting though, because like
it
Alien
is.
3 is trying to do things visually that are very of the moment, but not necessarily of the franchise.
Exactly. So I always really enjoy seeing a filmmaker who was kind of in one lane, then taking the leap and going to the other lane, and what came from their experiences in the like, and even like you referenced A Hard Day's Night. I don't think Richard Lester, he was doing like goofy.
You mean director of Superman 3?
Yes, the famed director of Superman 3, but he was not doing like, he was doing kind of like kooky British comedy, like goofy stuff. And
so
I don't know if he was doing documentaries, but like A Hard Day's Night, the energy of that film is very documentary-esque.
And yeah, I would have you thinking about the late 60s and the changing of cinema. We talk about The Graduate, right? Think about Easy Rider. Think about 2001: A Space Odyssey. Think about the Stargate when you're watching Point Blank.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Yeah, I have no idea what to expect. So that, as far as the premise goes, like this guy, I don't know, maybe like he's taking revenge, or maybe it's just like a French Connection thing where it's just like Gene Hackman's character is this like terrible racist, like kind of dirty cop.
Well, I think like that's all interesting. Again, like we've talked to, I said like it has the masculine energy to match Dirty Harry.
Yeah.
I think the French Connection can fall into that as well.
Okay.
So there are some like problematic elements when you're talking about a very man's man movie made in 1967. It's not going to be for everybody.
Sure.
and with good reason.
Yeah, but I'm excited to watch it. Like, I think I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm very curious because, again, many blank spots on my my film lover checkbox, the queue. Like, there's a lot of stuff I'm checking off with this movie, so I feel like I'll enjoy it. I think it's going to be a very interesting watch. It was not on my radar at all until you suggested we watch it. Okay. So
it just came out with a Criterion disc, so exactly. It's now in the collection.
So now it's legit. Yeah, now it belongs on the same shelf as Godzilla versus Biollante. It is on that level now. So
Deliverance, though, I know you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But that's probably like the most culturally significant John Boorman movie.
Yes.
Do you know anything about Deliverance?
I know about some of the big moments in Deliverance.
You know about the scene.
Yeah, I know the scene. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I also know as a Ned Beatty fan,
Otisburg,
having seen him as Otis in Superman, I'm sure his Deliverance performance is probably very similar.
If all you know about Deliverance is squeal like a pig, I encourage you to watch that movie. Okay, because it's a lot more than that scene.
Okay, great. Well, I do want to see that too. So maybe this will be just like with John Carpenter, another John. We're going to be doing it with John Boorman as well. We're going to be opening those
am not as confident that you are going to love this movie the way that you loved In the Mouth of Madness.
Okay.
Like, I think there's a strong possibility that you watch this and you go like, it just didn't do it for me, Brad.
Sure. Some movies from this era are like that, where I enjoy, and Easy Rider is a good mention because I need to watch it again. I watched it in college and it's been maybe 20 years almost since I watched Easy Rider. And I remember just kind of like, no, this is not for me. Kind of it felt like, did these guys just discover a camera? They just discovered the zoom lens.
I think Easy Rider is a cinematically, historically significant movie. But for me and my taste level, I watch it as a curiosity, not as an enjoyment. But I don't think that's Point Blank. I think Point Blank is a total blast.
Gotcha. Okay. So I was going to say this kind of new wave of American cinema is, I don't want to say hit or miss because I don't know that I've seen enough, but a lot of the, like 2001, The Graduate, all of these films that we've referenced, like those are incredible films. But there are things like Easy Rider where it's like the low budget kind of grungier, more guerrilla style filmmaking where these guys just literally picked up a camera and were like,
yeah,
let's
so like
make a
this is
movie.
not guerrilla style film.
Got it.
This is like a very assured hand,
Got
but
it. Okay.
experimental.
Okay. I'm into that. And I'm excited to see how it goes. So let's do it.
All right.
Let's make it happen.
Now available to own on video cassette.
Okay, we're back. Brad, first and foremost, I will not leave you in suspense. This is an excellent film, and I am glad to say your streak, you've got a hot streak going. I think both of us have yet to introduce each other to a movie that we flat out did not like, which I think speaks to just how brilliant we are as human beings. Because I think the biggest wild card you threw me was probably Demon Knight.
We're not counting Halloween 3.
Halloween 3 doesn't count. No,
okay,
that wasn't an anniversary episode. I don't think.
That's true.
Yeah,
that was another episode. But
yes.
I do recall you not loving Halloween 3 the way
Halloween
that you
3
should.
I don't love. Yeah,
that's a shame.
But I think you've thrown me a couple wild cards. I think Demon Knight probably takes the cake, but I don't think I've thrown you anything completely nuts. Have I? I think Paprika might be the weirdest thing
I think Paprika was the one I was the least strong on, but I don't think I would say that Paprika was a bad movie by any means.
Yeah, Point Blank is one of the every movie you've shown me is interesting. I think Point Blank is interesting in the way it is 100% not what I predicted, which I think I was like, it's a cop on a revenge kick. It's a revenge film, but he's not a cop. He's a criminal, but it is on paper a completely kind of straightforward revenge flick. Like this guy was left for dead and he's back and he's going to kill everybody. And you read the premise and you think like, okay, I know what this movie is. Right. And the film, primarily, I think due to John Boorman's direction and Lee Marvin's indulging of Boorman's vision and complete support of that vision, it becomes like, I don't want to compare it in an apples to apples way, but it kind of reminded me a little bit of a film I don't love, which is Nicholas Ray's Don't Look Now.
There
are some similarities in terms of the film is surreal, and it is taking kind of a well-worn idea and saying, now let's see what we can do with cinema, with cameras, with editing. Things tell this story in a way we've never seen before.
Some really wonderful metaphorical editing happening throughout this movie that you either love or you go, I don't get it. And when I was rewatching the movie this morning, while I was drinking my coffee, like just within like the first 10 minutes, after the heist has gone wrong on Alcatraz and he is like stumbling his way out of the prison during the credits, and you're getting like these little tableaus, where like there's that beautiful shot where he's like trapped on the barbed wire fence.
Yes,
he's not moving at all. Yeah. And like I'm like, is this might be too weird for Shawn. I don't. But this is an odd movie.
At the same time, it is, for lack of a better term, Lynchian almost.
Yeah,
and I love me some David Lynch. There is a dreamlike quality to this film,
or a nightmare-like quality.
Yes, dream, nightmare, whatever your vibe is, and it's not full-blown nightmare David Lynch, but it is surrealist, and it is keeping the viewer on their toes, where you're kind of like, I think I know what's going on, but is this actually happening? Wait a second. He walked into this apartment to see his wife or ex-wife, and now she's overdosed. And now
walk into the apartment, man.
Oh, well,
that sequence. That's the moment where I was like, oh, I love this movie. Because he has escaped from the prison. He's had some conversation with Keenan Wynn. Keenan Wynn wants to use Walker to get into the organization, blah, 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 blah. And then we get this gorgeous moment of Walker charging through LAX, that corridor, and
so good.
Hear his feet clap, 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 and then he's in the car, but the clap, clap, clap is continuing, clap, 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 and he is just like a bullet aimed directly at his ex-wife, or I guess it's not his ex-wife, his wife.
Technically, they're still married, quote
They're
unquote.
still married, but he's aimed like a bullet right at her, and we're hearing that clap, 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 and then suddenly he's through the door, and he's grabbed her, he's thrown her to the ground, and then he storms into the bedroom and empties out his gun into the bed. Like, we're like 10 minutes into the movie, maybe 8 minutes in the movie.
Yeah.
And like, that's when I just knew this isn't what it is on paper. This is something interesting.
That was, for me, the same thing. It was the moment where I was like, I like what you're selling. I like what you're giving me. And it was just that I love, and it, you talked about kind of the stylistic vibe of the film. It is in your face, and I think we discussed Easy Rider, and I don't want to speak too much to Easy Rider because I haven't seen it in about 20 years, and I remember Easy Rider annoying me with its kind of gimmicky editing and transitions and the way it approached its story, if you could call it a story.
Like Easy Rider is really adapting like the French New Wave.
Yes.
In a way like The Graduate is, and the way that Point Blank is. Yeah,
but I think Point Blank and The Graduate, the influences are obvious, but it feels more... and again, I can't say I want to watch Easy Rider again, but to me, it just felt like it served the psychology of the characters and the story. It works better. And I don't know the source material as well. I know the source material is a little bit more just straightforward pulp crime thriller. So this film is less interested in like you said, when he kicks open that door and kind of just like grabs her and is just like, where's the guy? Where is he? And it's this moment of violence and intensity. There are moments of intensity and like moments that are kind of like I would describe as exciting, but that's not what Boorman has on his mind with the film. And the stuff that he has on his mind is kind of, he blasts the audience with it. The stuff on his mind is like cinema. This is what cinema can do to a story.
I would say what's on his mind is emotion, right?
Yeah.
And like, how do we convey the emotion cinematically? Like, to me, this is one of the great adaptations because I do love the Richard Stark novel, and it does have a lot in common with the movie. I mean, the movie changes things up, but the book is also very style based, and it is a genre play. Donald Westlake as Richard Stark is walking in the footsteps of Dashiell Hammett and Raymond Chandler and cats like that, but doing something very much of its time too when it was published. And it does have like some nonlinear stuff happening in the book too.
Okay
But the movie, in trying to adapt the book, is like, okay, well, how do we get into the rage of this character? Walker in the movie, Parker in the book. How do we get in the rage of this character and really explore how this betrayal has shattered him?
Yeah. He's not quite, there's a whole theory about, is he dead the whole time? Is this happening in his mind?
Like that's less interesting to me. To me, like people think that way because they had never encountered a movie like this in 1967.
Yeah.
Because it was so dreamlike and strange and not linear. They're like, this is a ghost story.
Right.
Like, no, it's not a ghost story.
I get the impulse to want to like say like, oh, but I'm with you. And I don't think I don't think that's as interesting as what the film is actually showing us. I think it's more interesting that this guy is not fully like a ghost, quote unquote, not literally a ghost, but he's become like a shell of a human being.
Yeah, Angie Dickinson says like, you died on that island.
Yes. And so
he did, but not in the way that a cheap storyteller would make it happen.
Exactly. I don't think that's meant to be taken literally. I think he did die and he is no longer himself. And I think the film reinforces that throughout. He is kind of just this specter and he's not really motivated by anything complex. He just wants revenge and he wants his money. There's that great scene near the end where it's like, what do you want? He's like, I just want my money. It was almost like Heath Ledger's delivery of I just want my phone call in The Dark Knight. It reminded me of that, just kind of like, that's all I want. Like, it's not
and the way that the film then like repeats those sequences in which he has said that line previously. I just want my money. I want my money. I want my money. And in doing that, the absurdity of that desire is highlighted, And I like right at the climax of this film, he could get the money, but then
what does he have?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's like I just yeah.
I felt like at the end my vibe was, again, not that this guy was dead and not that like, oh, he's just a ghost and everyone imagined, like, I don't buy that. I just buy that this guy has nothing. He is empty and he belongs to this darkness. He is disappearing into the darkness. And when the money, it's finally, and we don't even know really, like, is that really the money? Was he being set up again? You don't know. Fairfax, we find out this guy is actually Fairfax. Is he Fairfax? Who knows? I don't know.
I think he's Fairfax, and I think the fact that the sniper, Doogie Howser's dad, by the way, captain of the Enterprise B, is it the B? Which I think it's
one of them Enterprises.
The Star Trek 3. Oh, no. The captain of the Excelsior. Oh, forgive me.
Oh, my God.
He's the captain of Excelsior before Sulu took over. Anyway, Doogie Howser's dad, he's the hired gun. And I think the fact that he is there at the end indicates that Fairfax probably would have killed Walker.
Yes, that's the vibe I got. And so I feel like, again, he's calling the bluff. Walker's calling the bluff. But also, I think, to your point, he takes that money and what's left. It's like, to him, it's like, it's almost like prolonging the inevitable, which is that he has no reason to exist once he's gotten his revenge, or once he gets that money. It doesn't matter. He's nothing anymore. And that's what I took from the film, is that this guy is moving through each of these moments, each of these interactions, even like the fleeting romance he experiences, and he's just there. And he's not really engaged with it. I absolutely loved the scene where Angie Dickinson just kind of beats him senseless, and he's sort of just standing there taking it.
Yeah.
And it goes past the point of like, she hits him a couple times and you're like, oh, this Lee Marvin guy can take a punch. It then just becomes like a frantic, just walloping.
It's just
of
like percussion
over and over. And I'm like, somebody call cut. And then, she falls over and he's just kind of like, all right. And he goes into the living room and puts on the TV. And it's just, I think that moment encapsulates this character. This guy doesn't, like, he's just like, I'm here and I feel nothing. And then it's like this moment of violence. She smacks him in the head. And then it's almost like out of necessity, they end up sleeping together, because it's like, it feels like the raw passion and emotion in that moment has gotten so high that it's
they
like,
need
well,
release somehow.
Yes, exactly. And that it's very, very powerful. And I just loved it.
So I want to hit rewind on the movie again, because I'm just so excited that you're here. Because Shawn, I was so prepared to come into this conversation like a defense attorney.
Well, the film is not conventional in the sense of like, it's not your average revenge thriller. I know Dirty Harry, there are some maybe not direct thematic connections, but certainly the gun is in Dirty Harry.
I talked about like this is a very masculine movie.
It is,
and it's also a dated film. It's 1967. When you watch this, you don't feel like, wow, this could have been made yesterday. No, this could only have been made in 1967.
You're right.
And I say that with all the pros and cons that come with that.
Yeah.
But like going back in time or hitting rewind on the film, you're watching the movie, opening sequence, the heist goes wrong. Like the first thing you see in this film, the first thing you hear in this film are the gunshots.
Yeah.
And then we get like the title, Point Blank. And then we get that title again.
Yes. Yeah.
When the actual credits happen. It's really fabulous. I love the opening of this movie. But take me back to, okay, you're watching that sequence. How are you feeling during the credits? Take me to how you're feeling about the walker going through LAX to the apartment and
all of that. Yeah.
I just go through that.
I remember just thinking like, again, the film kind of opens very conventionally, but then suddenly we're kind of taken into the realm of slightly surreal, not overtly, but you have these scenes of like, he's in the water and there's the announcer kind of on the boat discussing like Alcatraz and and here are all the people who died. And I'm realizing at this point, I'm like, okay, I've already seen in this brief opening, like just these opening minutes, a sense of that new wave vibe of the, we're in the late 60s. We're trying new things with film. We're not necessarily going to follow this story from point A to point B. It does kind of like, the story plays out linearly, but there are so many moments of like reflection and just staring into the abyss.
And
like
scenes layered on top of each other or right next to each other, hopping back and forth between
exactly
cuts.
So I immediately am like, oh, this is going to be really interesting. And the use of visuals and sound, particularly in the LAX moment, it's a striking image, him moving through that hallway. You have this plain white wall to his the left of the frame, and on the right there are all these colors, and it's just a striking image. And then the sound, it just felt to me like this is John Boorman, who I went back obviously and looked up some behind the scenes tidbits and learned a little bit more about him, but obviously I think this was his first color film, and I think this was
narrative film too.
Narrative, yeah. So he'd done like what the Dave Clark 5, like that kind of Hard Day's Night-esque thing, and then he'd done some documentaries. So it felt to me like this was a young filmmaker. I don't know how old he was at the time, but it felt like a hungry filmmaker, like
an up and comer for sure.
Yes, it just had that sense of, you could tell he was going to use all the tools at his disposal.
He was 34 when this movie came out.
Right. So relatively young. And I felt like through that moment, as the film is kind of bombarding you with image and sound, I was like, this is a filmmaker who wanted to prove what makes this medium unique, how this story and this medium can work together to tell the story, and this is the only way it could be told, and this is all the things that are available to him to make it happen that way. So I was immediately intrigued and curious. I was like, where is this going to go? And the film is, it's a brisk 90 minutes, and you don't have a lot of downtime. There are moments of where Walker is kind of just staring, and the music is kind of hypnotic, and the visuals are kind of going in and out of focus, and it's pulling you in that way. But for the most part, it felt like after that moment, he's breaking down the door, he's shooting the gun, and then even in that quiet moment with his wife, who is kind of like, she's just sort of sitting there, and he is just not responding to anything she's saying. She's kind of explaining, here's what happened, here's why it happened, here's how I feel, here's what's going on, here's where he is. And like, just kind of like, apparently there was dialogue between the two of them in that moment. And on the day, Lee Marvin just decided, I don't think Walker would be saying anything. I don't think it's right for him to say anything. So she just played opposite that and started saying his lines and kind of asking the questions that he wasn't asking, that he was supposed to be asking. And I was just so enthralled by that. I was so enthralled by the power of a film in 1967 to kind of take these unconventional approaches to scenes that we've seen in other films before. The moment where the scorned husband comes home and like you expect him to just murder the wife, but it's just kind of, things aren't playing out the way you would expect. He's sad and he's broken, and she's sad and she's broken, and they're just having this quiet conversation. And even though there's no big shootout or any big moment where he's like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to kill you now, it just pulled me in. I was so engaged with this.
Like, she overdoses, and he doesn't seem that bothered by it. I mean, he might as well have killed her.
Yes,
he just doesn't need to, and I feel like he even knows that he doesn't need to. And you refer to the film as like a revenge movie, and it is until it isn't.
Yeah.
Talk to me about like watching the first chunk of this movie, going from that scene, going to Big John Stegman at the car lot, and then finally getting to the confrontation with John Vernon's Reese. Like, here's the guy who, betrayed him. Here's your revenge moment.
I loved all of it, because I think Lee Marvin has explosions of violence. This character has explosions of violence. The sequence with the car where he's backing it and going forward and backwards is so good. But I think the club scene was what really impressed me. First, because the imagery of it is so striking. Again, like the music, the visuals, it's colorful, it's weird, and it's surreal, and
that
it's just
band singer, like the white businessman to sing back at him, and then the way that like his like just keeps getting repeated over the course of the fight. It's so unnerving. It's so unsettling to experience as a viewer.
The film has that kind of pounding, the footsteps, the music, the repetition. It has that kind of pounding sense of like it's building to something, and you get
it's jabbing at you. It's jabbing at you.
And it reminded me, the Odyssey is out this weekend, and this is something Nolan does really well too, where it's just like utilizing the soundtrack to build like with these kind of repetitions, these thumping noises that are kind of pushing, something's going to push you and push you and push you until that explosion, until that big moment. And I just felt like that. I felt like a lot of that inspiration, I could see that here. I could see seeds of that here. And the fight is so brutal. And something I just loved about it is like in the midst of this guy's beaten on the ground, and then Walker just completely nails him in the nuts. Like it just felt like such a cheap shot. And you see that kind of like that kind of move is played humorously in so many films where there's a fight scene, but in this film it's such a brutal move. And I remember thinking like, well, yeah, that feels like the move that makes the most sense for anybody. You got
to do the thing that ends the fight.
Exactly.
You got to be on top, man.
I remember just watching that moment and thinking, after thinking like ouch and wincing, I was just like that. I'm actually kind of shocked I haven't seen that move in more films, and like just because it's like, what's the easiest way to end a fight with a dude? Hit him in the balls. But it's just the guy's already on the ground, and he makes a point of just like bam, and the guy's like down for the count. And I just remember thinking that is so brutal and so efficient, and just like what the cherry on top of this insane sequence. And then eventually he does get to this guy. He gets to Reese, and Reese is just like sniveling and pathetic, and he's already met with Chris to basically like explain
the Angie Dickinson character.
Yes, and she's wonderful. She's incredible.
Yeah,
she also like has a quiet power to her. Like
I love Angie Dickinson.
Yeah, I don't know that I've seen her.
You gotta watch Rio Bravo, the best John Wayne movie.
Okay, yeah, I feel like her quiet intensity matches. It's a match for Lee Marvin, and I think Lee Marvin really championed her for the role. I don't think she was the studio's first pick, and I think he was kind of like, nope, it's her. She's going to be in it. And so I loved this kind of strange relationship and romance that they have, if you could call it a romance. It's like a mutual appreciation for each other, but also an understanding like they're kind of in this together. Like, yeah, my sister was, you were married to my sister. I hate this guy, Reese, and I want to see you get revenge on him because of the way he treated you and the way he treated my sister. So she's in it to win it with him. And I just think it's so interesting the way the scene plays out, the way he uses her.
It's so sad, dude.
It is sad. And it's like, she's a willing participant, but that doesn't make it any less icky.
It's a gross sequence, but like in the best way.
Yes.
She lures Reese into bed, John Vernon into bed. Yeah. And John Vernon's like, yo, I finally did it. I've been wanting to get with my wife's moment. Sister, or not his wife, but my girl's sister for a long time, and man, it's happening. What a dream come true for me. And Marvin has slowly been sneaking his way up this impenetrable penthouse, and like the way he does that by bounding and gagging those two men in the apartment building across the street, which distracts the guards in the lobby. One of those guards, by the way, is Sid Haig from The Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses.
Wonderful.
And he gets his way up to the top. And so John Vernon's like, man, I'm having the best night of my life. I'm making it with my girl. And then Lee Marvin pulls him out of bed. And as he's pulling him out of bed, he's like, he's practically crying and he's clutching onto his sheets to cover himself.
Well, it was
man.
it was such an interesting, because we talk about the opening and the gunshot, but there's also that scene between the two of them in that crowded room, like that party where they meet each other in the middle, and
sea of men.
Yes, and then Reese just kind of tackles him and straddles him and is like, kind of just like, it's a violating moment. Like
that
kind
scene
of like,
is later referred to as the reunion. The reunion of what?
Yes. And he's just like, I need you to do that. And like, he's what are you doing? Like,
who are
it's
all
just
those drunken dudes in suits?
Oh, it's a weird moment. And so in some ways, again, the power dynamic has shifted, and now Walker is the one in charge. He's the one on top now. He's in control. But Reese is like you said, he's sniveling, he's pathetic, he's sad.
He wants to die. He knows it's over.
Yeah.
Like the moment Walker's in that room, he's like, I'm done. There's no escape for me.
But then also, like, his death comes completely by accident.
It's so good.
He just slips off the roof. And I absolutely love wonky special effects and all.
But like those wonky special
death.
effects work within the visual style of the film.
Yeah, it was very, like, it reminded me of a Hitchcock thing where, I've seen this kind of visual in a Hitchcock movie, in like Vertigo's surrealist sequences. Like, it reminded me of that. And you're right, it is effective. And it's just so pathetic. This guy is completely naked. Like you said, this moment of triumph ends so tragically in such a brutal way. And it was just funny. It's pathetic. He's on the street completely buck naked and just,
he's traumatized all those poor young girls down there.
Yes. And there's also that moment where, the shot, you hold that shot on these girls. First they're screaming, but then they're just kind of staring like dead-eyed at this dead body on the ground. And it reminded me so much of like Walker's character in general, that kind of hypnotized, dead-eyed stare where he doesn't feel anything. It's like the death, that they've been traumatized by the death. And to that point, they've kind of like become, it's normalized to them. They're now fascinated by it, and they're just like, they can't take their eyes away.
If this is a revenge movie, the movie's over now.
Right. And that's what it was interesting. I was like, we're halfway through, so what happens next? And then it's like, well, I got to get my money. And I'm like, oh, okay. So there's this organization that Reese has, he owes them money. He's given them money, and the money's gone. And what
I love is like, so he gave him like he had to pay off the organization with like $150,000, some large number, but Walker only wanted 93,000 of it because that was his cut.
That's just what he wants. It's cut.
Walker just wants his 93,000 back, not the whole thing.
Yeah, which is, that makes perfect sense. The guy's not asking for much. He just wants to kill everybody who wronged him and get his 93,000. Again, I just want my phone call. That's what it all reminded me of. And Lee Marvin's temperament in those scenes when he's threatening these businessmen. Like, I love, there's that great moment where he walks up to the one guy, I can't remember his name, but he basically like approaches him at a party and is like, you owe me
Carter.
money. Carter. He is like, you owe me money. And the guy's like, you don't
like a political party.
Yeah. It's like
so the organization is like, it's not called the mob, it's called the organization, but clearly they've got their fingers in a lot of pies, politics, business, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And they're all like, what do you call it? Pencil pusher? Yeah, they're suits. They don't do anything. Like, they all just are kind of like, where's my money? I don't have your money. This guy has your money. I don't know where your money is. I don't have cash on me. Like, it's like none of them are actually like the people who make the stuff happen. They're just enjoying and reaping the benefits of it.
Well, I love like how the plot moves along because, he goes in the very beginning of the movie, he goes to his wife and she dies, and then a guy knocks on the door and it's a delivery man with a packet of cash, and Marvin roughs him up, and then that guy points him to Big John Stegman, and then Big John Stegman points him to Mr. Carter, and then Mr. Carter points him to Mr. Brewster, and Mr. Brewster points him to Mr. Fairfax.
Again, this is all like, it's par for the course for this kind of movie, but it's all the narrative unfolds and the filmmaking technique is done in such a way that it's not, it all plays out in this way, but it's all slightly skewed. It's all happening in this weird perspective that's not, even though that is like, it just kind of follows like, all right, I got to go to this guy now. And that guy told me I need to go get my money from this guy. So I'm going to go threaten him. And it's like, yeah, it kind of plays out in just this straightforward way. And I know it's funny that, Marvin and Boorman did not like the script at all. And Boorman, I think when the film was released initially, it didn't do super well. But Boorman was just flat out like, yeah, I mean, if they're complaining about the script is definitely a problem with the film. So in a lot of ways, like the script didn't really change. It's just the approach and execution of this direction and this vision that Boorman had for the film, and what Marvin had in mind for the character. That's what makes it so striking. So it is like, yeah, he's just going from place to place, threatening person to person. And even then he kind of like, at a certain point, like I was joking about, he's just like, guys, I just want my money. Like, why is this so hard? He's kind of defeated. He just kind of sits on the couch after threatening this guy at gunpoint. He sits on the couch. He's like, well, if you don't have it, where am I going to get my money? That's all I'm at. Like, it's not that big of a deal, guys. Doesn't anybody have $93,000 they can give me? It's so nonchalant, and it's just so strange for a movie that this genre, to this day, and even after this day, this genre kind of goes this route. And we're so used to seeing like the guy kills all the people and that's that. But in this, it's just very like weird and sad, and these people are helpless and dumb and don't know what's going on, and Lee Marvin is just like at the mercy of them, but also just like there is nothing that motivates him beyond this, and that's what makes the ending so interesting.
Really good looking LA crime movie.
Yeah I mean, it's not quite what you would expect from the genre too, because this kind of crime noir film, you would expect grimy, grungy, and it's grimy and grungy, but there's also so much color. Lit. Yes, so much color. So many scenes are taking place outdoors during the day, blue skies, it's a beautiful looking film, and it is again very at odds with what the actual story is and what the character is going through, but it works really well. It almost makes it more disturbing, that contrast that you have this brightly lit, colorful film and this empty vessel of a human being just moving through his life.
And then, it's enhanced by the editing style and the sound design and the score.
Yeah, all of these elements are coming together in a way that was really exciting and just feels like, okay, this is where film is going. This is now, we've reached a new point in cinema where we want to try these new things. And I know the ratings code was very strict with what you could and couldn't show, and that was kind of going away. So it just feels like there are a lot of things happening in this movie, and like in films like The Graduate, where we're seeing great filmmakers making use of the tools at their disposal to tell the story and to really evoke the inner life and inner workings of their characters' psyches. So in this case, Walker just like being confused and not really having much left is all in the film. And then also like you have these colorful costumes, bright hairdos, and like Chris's hair and her yellow suit, and you have the telescope.
Yeah, it's a super fashionable movie.
Yeah.
In fact, Angie Dickinson and Sharon Aker, who plays Walker's wife, for Life magazine, they did like a photo shoot at Alcatraz to promote this movie.
It's just it's so garish. And it's just like, it feels like late 60s, but the film is not, I wouldn't call the film garish. It's doing a lot of like flashy, show-offy things.
Like, yeah,
but
to me, it's crisp, but it is, like you've said, dreamlike, nightmare-like. It's extremely stylish. The cinematographer is Philip Lothrop, who has like an incredible filmography. I mean, he's the guy who shot Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Okay.
He shot, They Shoot Horses, Don't They? He shot Earthquake and Airport 1975.
Yes.
Like, this man shot some movies.
He's lived a life,
but
for
he
sure.
has not shot anything, in my opinion, that quite looks like Point Blank. And I think that's because he met John Boorman, and Boorman really wanted to tell an artful movie, an artful story.
Yeah, well, that also is why it doesn't surprise me necessarily that the film was so maybe. I mean, it did well, like it made money, right? I mean, people saw the movie, but it wasn't necessarily something that stood out. And The Dirty Dozen came out the same year, so I think
and like if you watch The Dirty Dozen, like they look like they came from a complete different decades.
Right. Well, that the movie is of its time for certain. This film is of its time for certain, but it just, I think because it is trying things and the narration and the visuals, it feels more contemporary and it's not a typical story. I remember like, as we're getting into the finale where he returns to Alcatraz, just looking at the timestamp and thinking like, wait, how much time is this? Is the movie going to end here? And then kind of like just thinking through like what the repercussions of that would be. Like, what does that mean for the movie? Like, how could the movie possibly wrap things up? And then it does, but the way it does is not in a moment of glory. It's this moment of like sad quiet and confusion.
A weird ending. How do you feel about the twist that the guy in the beginning, Keenan Wynn, who we knew as Yost, turns out to be Fairfax, like one of the, I'm not going to say the top dog of the organization, because like, is there a top dog of the organization? But he's the guy above Brewster. And Brewster, like for his entire time in the movie, he's like, look, Fairfax is dead. Like he's not going to last much longer. So don't even worry about Fairfax. Right. And then Fairfax is Keenan Wynn, and he's been actually targeting or aiming Walker at all of these people.
Well, I think maybe it's a moment for Walker to reflect on like, what has he really been accomplishing? He's just been a tool for the guy he supposedly wants to kill. It's like he's just part of the machine in a way.
So
and
even
I think
his desire, he doesn't own.
Yes, exactly. I think there's an element of that to Walker's kind of realization and reaction where it's like, I don't even want this money. I don't want I'm not a part of anything here anymore. I think there is an element of that to this. So I thought that was interesting. The twist felt to me like very pulpy. Like it felt like very genre, like
not in the book.
Yeah, it's not in the book. Interesting. It just felt like that. It felt a little par for the course. Like, of course, there's got to be something where the guy's like, aha, like I'm actually Fairfax and I was controlling you the whole time. It felt like, oh yeah, of course. And maybe a little bit arbitrary, especially that late in the movie. But I think it's more interesting because of that idea of, like you said, Walker he can't even control himself. He's just part of the machine. He's just part of somebody else's game. And when the game ends up being like you've sworn to kill off all these men to get your money back or whatever it is you want, and then that guy is actually pulling your strings, it's like, what does that do to you? What does that mean? It's an interesting change for the book, but I think it's reflective of
there's lots of changes. The book is a New York book for one.
Yeah. Well, this feels like, even though it's in LA, it's bright and sunny, it still has like that New York vibe in a way, like just that kind of like noir vibe.
It's definitely hard boiled. I don't know if I would necessarily think of it as noir, but it's got the attitude of Richard Stark. It's got the attitude of, again, Raymond Chandler, Dashiell Hammett. But again, I really do feel like, I know you just said like it feels like more contemporary than other films of its era. I think it feels very 60s. I feel like it's very of that turning point. I think it's one of the unsung heroes of that shift in cinema. Like, I imagine when people first saw Marlon Brando act, and you would watch like The Wild One or On the Waterfront, and everyone around Brando is acting the way that people did at that time. And then here comes Brando with this very different naturalistic style of performance. And he almost feels alien within the frame.
Right.
And I kind of feel like that's what Point Blank is. It kind of feels alien within the context of the other movies, but it fits in with The Graduate. It fits in with Easy Rider. It fits in with 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah. I think I imagine I think you're spot on. And I imagine just like, what is an audience going into this thinking? It is, like you said, it perfectly encapsulates this kind of new wave in American filmmaking and studio filmmaking, where they are adopting some of the techniques and the storytelling ideas that, you know, we've seen Truffaut do and some other Godard and other filmmakers do, that is off the beaten path, some stylistic choices, editing that is not driven by story, but driven by like psychology and technique, like things like that. And this film 100% feels like it's part of that turning point. And I just wonder, like, what would it have been like to sit in that movie theater and watch this film? Because it feels like a film that, like, I don't know that I would casually recommend it to anybody. Like, it's like, oh, is it like, you know, I'm a big fan of thriller, should I watch it? I would say, like, you have to be a big fan of film. Like, almost like,
I think if you're a movie nerd, this is essential.
Yes,
right?
exactly. It's John Boorman wasn't necessarily like interested in making a crime thriller. He was more interested in making like a film nerd's version of that in a way. And that can be pretentious, or maybe that comes across as condescending, but it works here.
Like, this is a moment of great change within Hollywood, within movie making. I just watched Midnight Cowboy for the first time, which comes out in 1969.
Okay.
And in watching Midnight Cowboy, I go, oh yeah, that a lot of that energy that's in this movie is in Point Blank. But John Boorman is using that energy to tell a pulp story, which is my favorite kind of genre. Like Easy Rider's really not my jam narratively, and Midnight Cowboy's not really my jam narratively. But Point Blank, yo, this is where I want to live. And to see that style or that influence in this genre at this time, I think is what like elevates it to one of my favorite movies from Brad Gullickson.
Yes, I think it also, it goes to show what the director can bring to the table.
Oh,
like
100%.
Like it is, you know, again, on paper, the script itself doesn't necessarily scream like, yes, this is going to be great. But it's like, if a filmmaker can latch onto an idea and say, here's how I want to approach it, and here's what I want to do cinematically to tell this story and make it uniquely cinematic, I think that's what Point Blank does. And what's interesting about it, and especially as a student of film or a lover of film, to watch it from that sense, that's what it feels like to me. It feels like a direct, you know, one of my favorite comparisons, because for me it was a big breakthrough moment as a film fan, was seeing Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban after watching the first two films and not knowing anything about Alfonso Cuarón, just being a Harry Potter fan and having enjoyed the first two films, but then seeing what happened when like a truly masterful filmmaker comes in and says, all right, now I'm going to interpret this.
It definitely doesn't look like Chris Columbus. Definitely, I love Chris Columbus, by the way. And I would say that he is kind of a masterful filmmaker within his realm.
Yes. And I'm not trying to knock Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets, but Alfonso Cuarón is a different breed of filmmaker than Chris Columbus. True. And I think Point Blank is similar in a way where it's like you see a crime thriller, just a straightforward crime thriller, versus like what John Boorman wanted to do. And you see, it's like when I watched Prisoner of Azkaban for the first time, I was fully cognizant of like, oh, this is what a filmmaker can do when they have a particular vision. This is what they can do with source material when they're like, and here's how I want to interpret
that story.
The
makes me feel so old, Shawn.
That was, I mean, it was a big moment for me.
I'm sure it was. I think, graduated from college by that point. I think a great like little bit of homework a person could do after watching Point Blank is to watch the 1999 Brian Hageland adaptation of The Hunter, Payback, starring Mel Gibson.
Yeah, I'm very curious.
Role. And he's not Walker, he's not Parker, he's Porter in Payback, which I love that. I love that. Again, Donald Westlake was like, nobody can call him Parker.
Right.
And I actually really love Brian Helgeland's interpretation, but it is vastly different, and it is also very late 90s. But strong. You do have to watch the straight up director's cut edition. Don't watch the theatrical cut.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I'm very curious about that now. And there was another film with Robert Duvall, wasn't there?
Yeah, the outfit. That's a different story. The outfit's a different novel, but it's the Parker character. Again, Robert Duvall doesn't play a character named Parker. There's also one in which Jim Brown, the football player, plays the Parker role. Which one is that? I think it's The Setup. I could be wrong. I'll look that up as we're talking. And then like Jean-Luc Godard did Made in USA, which is a Parker book as well.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah. And then Jason Statham.
It's so funny because Point Blank feels so much like, again, it's part of that new wave of cinema, but that Godard
The
Split
would come back is the Jim Brown movie.
Okay, gotcha.
Gene Hackman's in that too. I think it's Gene Hackman's very first theatrical role.
Oh, wow. Well, so I thought this was interesting. I was reading that Tarantino is not a big fan of this film, Point Blank. Have you read this?
I have. And, fair whatever, Tarantino. Tarantino doesn't like a lot of things. But who loves this is Steven Soderbergh.
Yes, Steven
Soderbergh. And if you watch Soderbergh's movies, you go like, yeah.
I mean, he's flat out like, I think I was reading that they were doing the commentary for Point Blank together.
Yeah. I've listened to it. It's great.
Yeah, I would love to watch it. And John Boorman, there's one point where Boorman goes like, "Oh yeah, a lot of people have been inspired by this moment in the film and ripped it off." And Soderbergh goes, "Yeah, I've ripped this off many times."
And then that's your other bit of homework is to watch Steven Soderbergh's The Limey, which really, really tries to adapt not the narrative, but the editing style, the sound design, the visuals of Point Blank.
Yeah, I feel like with Tarantino knocking my dear friend Paul Dano and my other dear friend Matthew Lillard, and then on top of that, like having watched this film and just reading his kind of condescending comments about it, I'm just sort of like, what are you missing here?
I mean, to me, Tarantino is very much a film nerd with very much film nerd opinions.
Yes.
He's going to, highlight some things that you would be surprised by, and he's going to take a dump on other things that you'd be surprised by. That's what I want Tarantino to do. It's like when Martin Scorsese comes out and says, like, I don't like superhero movies. I'm not mad at Martin Scorsese for not liking superhero movies. I kind of expect him not to like superhero movies based on the movies he makes. Right. So it's totally cool. You're not into Marvel. I'm into Marvel. Fine.
Yeah.
You do
and
your
Tarantino, yeah, go ahead and give me that 5,000 word essay about how great Superman Returns is. And eventually maybe that'll happen. I mean, we're finally getting The Whole Bloody Affair, Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair. So I'm not putting that idea to bed yet. I think someday we'll get...
big Superman Returns
He
fan?
Loves Superman Returns.
That's
and
wild. That's one of those insane opinions, Sean.
Exactly. So he insists that he's written some sort of love letter to the film and it's never been released.
Oh man.
And will it be released? Like I said, I was never expecting to see The Whole Bloody Affair, but we got it. So maybe, just maybe, we'll get that
now we're
Superman
tangenting. Where do you fall on The Whole Bloody Affair? Are you team I like it as two movies, or I'm only going to watch it as The Whole Bloody Affair going forward?
Still haven't seen The Whole Bloody Affair,
so
I'm curious, very curious, because that's going to be out soon on 4K.
Well, I'm team two movies.
Okay, because I loved Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2. Those were my first Tarantino films.
Again, you make me feel real old, man.
Those were my first Tarantino films, and part of the reason I loved Volume 2 so much is because it was a second film.
Yeah.
And it felt so different from Volume 1. And I remember people telling me, oh, Volume 2 is so boring and da-da-da. And I watched it and I was like, I love this for completely different reasons than I love the first one. Like it does something, it's a different flavor. So there's a part of me that feels, because that love was ingrained so early on, I probably am going to watch The Whole Bloody Affair and say like, yeah, it's cool to see them together, but I like to watch them both as their own films.
Well, that's how I feel exactly.
Yeah. Okay, good. So Quentin Tarantino, we've agreed that we don't agree on anything with Tarantino, and that he's wrong about Point Blank.
He's wrong about a lot of things, as all humans are.
Yes, it's true, and he's great. His movies are great. I love you. Anything else? What else about Point Blank? Any other questions for me? Any feelings with this latest viewing that came to the surface?
Well, like the biggest surprise was, oh shit, that's Sid Haig in the lobby. I had not noticed that before. I had to go to IMDb and confirm it, but it is true. I really, really enjoyed Carol O'Connor's performance this time around as Brewster. You know, he comes in late to the party. I think the first half of this movie is superior to the back half of the film. I still really like the back half, but I think I enjoyed Brewster's house sequence more than I've ever have before.
I enjoyed it because he's so we've already seen these businessmen and we've seen Reese behave in these kind of like sniffling, like, oh no, how dare you? And Brewster's like, he's like the slimy business guy. He's like, hey, what can I do for you? Like,
I love he's walking into his house. He doesn't want to be back in California. His pool isn't heated. He's so mad.
But he's like, it's just like, I feel like in a lot of ways, I am Brewster.
Yeah.
If I walked into a room and this guy was like, "Where's my $93,000?" and I'm in Brewster's position,
he doesn't just walk into the room though, because he comes in and as he walks in, he passes Walker, who's on the other side of the door,
beats his driver.
He takes the butt of his gun and hits his driver right in the face, knocking him out cold. And Brewster knows immediately without turning around that it is Walker. Right. And then when he turns around, Carol O'Connor delivers that great line of like, "You're a very bad man, Parker," or not Parker. "You're a very bad man, Walker." Like, I love that line delivery.
It's so good. But he's also just like, he knows he's cooked, but he's like, "Hey, what can I do to help?" Like, it's just like,
but he doesn't know he's cooked in the way that Reese knows he's cooked.
Yes,
like when true. Reese is confronted, Reese is like, "I am now dead."
Yeah,
and I just want to be ended. Whereas Brewster still thinks he has one up on Fairfax.
Yeah, and then
his flaw is that he does not.
Exactly. But yeah, you're right. I really enjoyed that moment. I enjoyed watching it. I love when he calls Fairfax on the phone.
Yeah.
And then Walker just blasts the phone away. It's such a great moment. And again, like this film is Lee Marvin's performance. It's like he's quiet. So he's quiet until he's not. And then something big happens and then he's quiet again. And he's just kind of like, yeah.
Lee Marvin is a great actor. Yeah. I think people dismiss him as just being Lee Marvin, but watch Point Blank, watch The Dirty Dozen, watch The Big Red One. This guy is doing things. Gears, you see them turning in his head. Watch his other John Boorman movie, Hell in the Pacific.
Yeah, I would love to watch that just because Toshiro Mifune, just seeing him in that would be great. I want
you, Sean, to go on a John Boorman journey.
I would love to.
Deliverance, Excalibur.
Well, honestly, I haven't seen, I don't know that I've seen Lee Marvin in anything either. Maybe I'm looking at his filmography just to make sure, but I haven't seen The Dirty Dozen. What else? What are the other Big Red One?
My favorite Lee Marvin movie. I like it. Well, I don't like it as much as Point Blank. My second favorite Lee Marvin movie is the movie he does with Burt Lancaster, Western set in like the 19-teens, 20s, called The Professionals.
Okay.
Highly recommend that. And if you want a true blue noir with Lee Marvin, and Lee Marvin is the bad guy, oh man, he has a bad time with some coffee in this film. It's called The Big Heat. And you gotta watch The Big Heat.
Well, what's great about his performance in this film is how quiet it is. Like you said, you can see the gears turning, and it is so effective and powerful. And I think sometimes with actors, like, you think of the big powerful moments as like these huge, like I think, Tom Cruise in Magnolia when he's talking to his dad and just like in pure agony and pain as he's pouring out his heart. There are great moments like that, great performances that 100%, that's an incredible performance. But then there are performances like this where it's like just the quiet and the stillness of it, and just like the eyes, there's so much going on there. And I mean, Lee Marvin, he's a guy who saw a lot. Yeah. And there's a lot of that pain. Yes, there's a lot of that pain you feel in this character and channeled into this performance. it's haunting is how I would describe it. The film is haunting. The performance is haunting.
Yeah, it's a haunted movie.
Yes, exactly.
Not literally.
It's not because he's a ghost. It's not because he's really dead. It's because like it is. That's just not. We said it already, but it's not an interesting take to me.
Yeah.
It just feels too easy to be like it's all a dream. It's all happening in his head. I'm like, then what? Why?
Like that's boring. That's not interesting.
It's not as human. Interesting.
Get out of here.
It robs the film of its power, which is like it's a sad film. It's a film like it's fun to watch, but it's ultimately kind of a sad movie where this guy is just completely, there's nothing left at the end. He just kind of walks through this life trying to get what he wants. And then when that moment is presented to him, even then he's like, I guess I don't really want that either. And that's that. So
here's my favorite Lee Marvin piece of trivia for the day, Shawn. I'm learning this now. He turned down the role of Quint in Jaws. Spielberg offered it to him, and the reason he apparently declined that role is, quote, what would I tell my fishing friends who'd see me come off as a hero against a dummy shark?
I mean, fair enough. Oh, I did. You know what? I'm looking at, I did see him in an episode of Twilight Zone.
Yeah. Good Twilight Zone episode.
Yes. I think the boxing one.
Yeah.
Steel.
Yeah.
Human professional boxing.
Hugh Jackman would be in that adaptation. Real Steel.
That's right. But anyway, there's a lot of stuff I need to like. This definitely feels like a gold mine.
The TV movie, The Killers.
Watching...
The Killers you should watch too. Ronald Reagan, the bad guy in that.
Oh, great. Yeah.
But The Professionals you should seek out for sure.
Okay. Yeah. No, this is it's a fascinating film, and it was not on my radar at all until you brought it up.
Oh,
so
what a delight this has been.
Thank you for the introduction. What do we want to do our ratings? How many loud footsteps or what?
Yeah,
what
loud
else?
Footsteps is good.
How many footsteps would you give Point Blank?
I mean, this is one of my favorite movies. I give it 5. Like that rating is not as interesting as whatever your rating is.
I think I would give it 4, which to me, it signals it's great. I think it's a weird movie. It's unconventional, and it's something that I think the more you meditate on it and think about it, the more interesting it becomes. And you're like, oh yeah, there's some cool stuff happening in this film that I think merits repeat viewings. So thank you, Brad, for the introduction.
My absolute pleasure, Shawn.
And then I got to figure out what's next for you. I have no idea.
Yeah,
no idea. It's so much easier for you. Yeah, I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. But Brad, tell the good people at home where they can find you out there on the internet, should they so desire.
My wife and I do a podcast called Comic Book Couples Counseling, where every week we talk to some rad comic book creator about some rad comic book. It is Comic-Con season. San Diego Comic-Con is just days away from the publication of this episode, I'm assuming. Lisa and I will be at Comic-Con. We're dropping an episode a day during Comic-Con. Hopefully, haven't recorded them yet, so you never know. Might not actually happen. But we've got episodes.
I'm gonna text you guys every day and be like, "Where's the episode?"
But if you're a comic book geek, I think you'll have a real good time with the show. We've got episodes with Christian Ward coming up. Matt Fraction and Kelly Sudoconic joined the show together. That's a fun married couple episode. We've got an episode with Frank Miller that we just dropped not too long ago.
So good.
Really, really proud of that we have built a podcast in which Frank Miller might show up sometimes. That's pretty
and
cool.
Tying it back into this character, this Point Blank character, isn't there a Darwin Cook adaptation of some of these novels?
Oh my God. That's the thing. Like what I would love, if you like this movie, Shawn, I would love for you to start reading the Richard Stark books, The Hunter, The Man with the Getaway Face, and then read the graphic novels. Or you can just read the graphic novels, because the graphic novels by Darwin Cook are extremely faithful to the novels themselves. I mean, he's pulling the language right out of those books and putting them into his comics.
Yeah,
and they are beautiful.
That feels like the perfect marriage.
Yeah.
Great. And then I will another weird tidbit looking at Lee Marvin's Wikipedia page. He died on the day my wife Sarah was born, August 29th, 1987.
Oh, wild.
So there we go.
And he's buried just
in my backyard.
No, he's almost buried in my backyard. He's in Arlington National Cemetery.
Oh, wow.
He's buried next to Joe Louis, not too far from where Kennedy is. And I go to Lee Marvin's grave all the time. And then you can go visit my grandfather, Gully Gullickson. And you can visit Dashiell Hammett is there too. Bill Mauldin. Lots of cool people.
Crazy.
Lots of cool dead people.
Lots of cool dead people. And I'm here on Missing Frames. And you can also find me on Twitter at YayShondorman, on Letterboxd, ShondorMan05, and on Instagram, just plain old Shondor.
Plug the franchise boys again.
All the franchise boys who are a part of they're under the Missing Frames umbrella. The franchise boys. It's me. It's Brad. It's Aaron Prescott. We go through all the franchises. We watch every single movie you can think of. Sometimes we have to split it up. We watched 5 million Godzilla films recently. We just did the Planet of the Apes, the first 5 films, and we are going to be returning soon to do the modern takes. And yes, we'll do the Tim Burton film as well. We'll throw that one a little bone.
I'm weirdly looking forward to that one the most.
I'm very excited. The franchise boys are at the point where they might need their own podcast franchise because it's just, we're already doing too much, and you and Lisa are so busy all the time. But I always love the franchise.
I'm just happy
boys.
that we're talking about movies on Missing Frames and not just Superman, man.
It's a blast. It's always a blast. But thank you, Brad, and we will see all of you at the movies.